Okay.
Because I'm like, all the
ready?
background stuff is fun.
Are we waiting on Gene?
Yeah, we are
Okay.
waiting. No, he's on.
Okay, great. So we're gonna play the sponsorship commercial, and then I'll pitch it to Emrys.
To become a sponsor of our show and have your business or event promoted on every single podcast platform, 2 Philadelphia radio stations on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. evening drive time, an FM station in New York, send us an email to either foodfarmsandchefs@yahoo.com or diningonadime@yahoo.com.
And we're back. Emrys Pollock, introduce us to your fabulous guest.
I have the extreme pleasure to introduce a dynamic woman who is bringing so many new things to the Jersey Shore, but she's already brought it to Philadelphia and Fishtown. Vanessa Wong, thank you so much for joining us on our show.
Well, thank you for having me.
So as I had mentioned, you already have opened up an established business in Fishtown. It is a dynamic business that kind of just boomed out there because I think it was, something that area hadn't seen. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Fishtown Social?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. We opened Fishtown Social in 2016. So that's well before the Fishtown that you guys know now. We were living there since 2008, and I really just wanted to see, I opened what I wanted to see there was a little bit of a wine bar, something other than that industrial kind of beer scene. They weren't really ready for that. So it was definitely a challenging first year or so. We walked it back a little bit, felt the neighborhood out, evolved like any business, needs to do. And then the town just grew up around us really, really quickly. So very quickly, I was able to get back to where we wanted to be, featuring all those natural wines and really take advantage of some of the more flexible licensing things that allowed us to sell wine to go. And we were able to open something that you don't really see there in the drag. So we're fortunate.
Yeah. And I'm just curious because your history is, I did a little bit of research on you, and your history is you're an attorney, you're, in litigation. So how did you make the jump from litigation to opening up the Fishtown Social with the wines, the natural wines?
Well, I mean, I practiced for a bunch of years, but it's in my blood, really. I mean, I grew up, I'm first generation born here. My family had restaurants, not quite on this kind of level and had nothing to do with natural wine, but definitely grew up in the industry. They had a 24-hour truck stops and diners up in North Jersey where I grew up. And I just, I gravitate towards that all through undergrad, all through law school. I worked in all different aspects of, the industry, from bartending to clubs to fine dining. You just kind of find yourself sucked back into the thing that comes naturally for you. And when you're, behind a desk practicing law, you don't get that opportunity to really interact. And also, we started a family as well. So you jump into it thinking, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to have a little more flexibility. And surprise, it's totally opposite. You're doing it 24/7. But, it's kind of how I made that jump.
It's a good jump. It is. Now, how did you become a natural wine aficionado?
So that's really through my experience in fine dining. I was introduced, I worked a lot in Princeton because I went to undergrad at the college in New Jersey, in Central Jersey. So I did a lot of fine dining, and that was my intro to wine in general. I had a really good, I really interest in the farming and the viticulture and all that was happening behind the scenes. And then when I was working downtown, we'd always make our trek across town, and my husband and I would meet up, and our meeting place was always a trio over in Washington Square West. So we started to see a lot more, the wine scene and things that are coming up in Philly. So that really just sparked my interest. Just like food, I'm just as interested and concerned on how your wine is made and how the grapes are farmed, and just about what you're drinking. You want to feel good about that as well. I mean, as good as you can feel, you're still drinking, but so that's really it. It's just my love of food and wine and wanting to understand the process behind there and know that it's being made well and you're drinking something that's great.
Now, I know that there's a difference because of how they process it, and I'm wondering for our listeners out there if you can, let them know the like what differentiates the natural wine from most of the processed wines that we see on the shelves that, are there for a very long time.
So that, I mean, that's like it's still a little bit of a gray area if you ask people who are in the natural wine world. But generally speaking, I think it boils down to like a couple points. The farming, first and foremost. So if you work with and gravitate towards smaller production wines with, made by smaller farmers, naturally, these people live on the land. Their families have lived on the land for generations. They raise their children there, so their farming practices are going to be responsible, organic, sustainable, biodynamic. So I think that would probably be your first check on the list of in terms of wanting to gravitate towards a wine that's more natural. Then you get a little bit more technical, where you will have no additives, no colors, no added sulfurs. You also want something, you'll hear a term a lot is, natural yeast versus a wine that is inoculized and fermented in that way. Also spontaneous ferment, which is like a whole nother level because it's whatever's happening in that, that region, that cellar, that area, and it's allowed to spontaneously happen on its own naturally. And then finally, it's a lot of them you'll see now are unfined and unfiltered. So you'll see a lot of these natural wines in the clear bottles as opposed to like those darker green and brown bottles, and they look cloudy, almost like a kombucha. I think that would probably be the last thing that you check off your list. But the way we approach it, it's not really any and all. If somebody wants something that's really natural or natty per se, I try to find them something that checks all of those boxes. But like, as long as you're getting one or two of those things in there, and that something's being made in small batches or by responsible farmers, and there's no additives, then in my mind, that you're drinking a natural wine.
Yeah. Now, you are also kind of limited as far as the liquor store laws are, related to the Philadelphia area, but you are opening the same concept. And in addition, you're also opening Fish and Whistle with your Wahine. Did I pronounce that correct? Wines?
Yeah, you did.
Off of the Jersey Shore of all places, where you have less restrictions. So what are some of the things that you're going to offer at your new locations that you wouldn't per se, be able to offer, unfortunately, at Fishtown Social?
Yeah. Well, at Fishtown Social, we can't sell spirits, right? Yeah. It's the state's controlled system. So the permit that we have that is a rider to our restaurant and bar license in PA permits us to sell, a limited amount of wine products, so we can't do spirits, nothing over a certain ABV. But in New Jersey, even though we are, Wahine is a boutique wine store, a natural wine store, we also offer a really nice selection, a curated selection of some craft spirits, which, is important because I drink a lot of those as well. So I'm pretty excited about that. And then I think the main difference you'll see is just the variety of wines that are available. There's a whole world of, great natural wines that aren't necessarily those couple of wines that you see all the time on Instagram. And now that I'm somewhere in like that isn't controlled by the state, the wines are more widely available and accessible at a great price point, because there's wholesale pricing now, right? In PA, I buy it retail, and then I got to figure out a way to get it in the hands of my customers and still kind of keep the lights on. So,
Yeah.
that's the main difference, I think.
which is good. Now, you also are going to be with the Fish and Whistle Market. You're going to be offering, a selection of curated cheeses and other products that people can go and purchase and like fresh made food. So, what are some of the things that they can, purchase when they're purchase and eat for that matter, along with the natural wines at your new location?
Yeah. So again, when we look at places and we decide when I decide to open something, in my mind, it's like, what would I really like to see here? What's going to, serve the commercial corridor the best? And opening just the wine shop and the liquor store in that corner to me just didn't seem like enough energy. And we had enough space to kind of create this market concept that, complements wine. What goes better with wine than cheese and charcuterie and, you know, pates and all sorts of, and that's pretty underserved. I don't know if you spend any time down in Ventnor or on the island or the Jersey Shore in general. I mean, there's a lot of great food, hoagies, pizzas, all those items. But sometimes
Comfort
when you get
foods.
to a certain age, you just want a cheese board and some olives and, a little antipasto and tapas, like something a little lighter, something a little fresher, and something that isn't a production. So it was pretty much a no-brainer to take the front of that space and, blow it open there on the corner, give it some energy, and stock the market with just a lot of those things that I would like to eat.
I mean, I saw one of your posts that you were making banh mi too, and I'm like, oh, that's exciting because that's not something that I would normally see paired with a wine. So I was kind of excited to see that you're making fresh banh mi like right there on site.
Oh yeah. Well, I keep getting the question like, where are your hoagies? Where's your sandwich? Again, we're at the shore. And we right down the street, we have other businesses that do really great sandwiches. For instance, the Dorset just opened up. So I didn't want to offer that same element. So I'm in my mind, I was thinking, well, what kind of hoagie can I offer? Well, I love a banh mi. I love it. It's fresh, it's got vegetables, those fresh ingredients, the fresh herbs. And so that was really kind of to satisfy that slot. So we do offer and we'll offer a tofu, a chicken, and a pork option. So there's something for everybody. But I just wanted to keep that really nice and tight and limited. So it complemented what everybody else was doing on the drag and not just, a lot of the same. So.
Which is good. Now, I know that you do at Fishtown Social, you do pop-ups and you do happy hours and whatnot. So are you planning to do some of that at the new Wahine Wines?
Yes, absolutely. So we have a couple things in the works. So you'll have to just kind of follow our Instagram. But I do also in my escapades back and forth from Philadelphia to the shore, do my best to bring a lot of these smaller Philly brands like Fishtown Pickles, Reanimator Coffees, again, things that I love from Philadelphia to the shore. And I also have a plan for, when it gets quieter for a lot of these smaller vendors and local artisanal food producers that I use in the market down here to give them an opportunity to pop up and come up to Philly once things quiet down here. So it's just like, I think it's about connecting the two worlds that I really love. I love the beach, I love the city of Philadelphia. So I'm like, how can we do this? I'm already going back and forth. Yeah. And a lot of these smaller vendors they don't take it back and forth, they don't deliver. I mean, these days you can't really make that feasible thing, so I kind of do it on my own.
So now I actually have a friend who I was discussing your wine selection with, and she was wondering, based on the name Wahine Wines, do you carry a large product line with female owned natural wine businesses?
Yeah, we do have a great deal of our wines are. I mean, I don't necessarily try to. There's no like set quota or what, but again, with like a lot of these indie wineries and a lot of the next generation of like vineyards that are being taken over by daughters, by aunts, by sisters. It just kind of, it's like the natural progression of things, which is great. Yeah, I don't have to look that hard. But yes, we absolutely have a ton of female winemaker, female producer, female farmers, like great stories behind a lot of the wines that we have.
Which is good. Now, because I alluded to it, do you want to explain to our listeners the meaning behind the name?
Oh yeah. So we were a lot of people were kind of perplexed because initially when we conceived the idea, we were just going to call it Ventnor Provisions. We wanted to kind of make sure everybody knew where we were, put Ventnor on the map um and go that route. But then, in the time that it took us to build everything and get everything together, I had this instance where my two girls, I have four kids, but my two girls, yeah, I know, I see your faces like, oh my God. Yes, I have four kids. Things escalated quickly for me, but
That's why you need the wine.
that is why we need the wine. But my girls, they surf. We spend a lot of time on the beach in the summer, and they are now 9 and 7. And we were just talking about the upcoming summer and how they wanted to get in the water more, how they wanted to surf. And it was really funny. Their older brother, who's 14, like an older brother does, was just like, no way, there's sharks, there's this, there's that. And they're like, we're not scared. Mom's a girl, she's not scared. And I just got to thinking, like, these are my little wahinis, my little surfers. They're not scared. They jump in, they dive in head first, they do what they love. And this is kind of like what I'm doing here for them, and modeling that for them. So I decided to change the name a little. And then I had to come up with the name for the market. So I love John Prine, rest in peace. So Fish and Whistle is probably one of my favorite songs. It's just like really positive vibes about the neighborhood and just singing about everything that you see going on around you. And that's how I ended up with that. Although, I have moments where I'm like, we are not a fish market. No, it's a song, but it is what it is.
Now, speaking of diving right in, where can we dive in to find you online? Where's your physical locations, and what can we see next at at your locations?
So we are location's super easy. If you know the shore, we are 101 North Dorset Avenue, which we are at the foot of the Dorset Avenue Bridge on the Heights side, the Ventnor Heights side. I'm most active on Instagram right now at Wahine Wine or at Fish Whistle Market. So you'll see a lot of cross promotion and posts. So you can get all your information there. And the newest, not the newest thing, but we've had a wine club in the works was coming down the pipeline for both locations. But in the last 10 days, literally everyone who's come through the door has asked me about it. So rather than wait, we're going to roll it out. So you're going to see it come, that announcement will come out very soon, probably within the next week or two. And then we'll start enrolling people in memberships. And I think the first monthly pickup will be right around Labor Day.
All right. Thank you very much. And I look forward to trying some of the wines that you have available. And we can find you online, and we look forward to having you on again at some point, because I want to try it and bring you back on.
All right. Sounds like a plan. We'll have a little tasting.
There we go. Maybe behind the scenes.
All right.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you for having me, you guys. Have a great one.
Let's take a break and we'll be right back.
Are we a Zoom or a call now?